Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, Prahlad, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu, text number 17. Daiteya Chandana Vane Jatoyam Kantaka Druma Yanmulon Mula Parashora Vishnur Nala Itor Baka Daiteya Chandana Vane Chitoyam Kantaka Druma Mulo Mula Parashora Vishnur Nala Ito Torupaka Dame. Ashura. That Daiteya of the demoniac family, Chandanavane, in the sandalwood forest, Jataha, born, Ayam, this, Kantaka Druma, thorn tree, Yat, of which, Mula, of the roots, Unmula, in the cutting, Parasho, who is like an axe, Vishnu, of Lord Vishnu, Nalaita, the handle, Arbaka, the boy. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This rascal Prahlad has appeared like a thorn tree in a forest of sandalwood. To cut down the sandalwood trees, an axe is needed, and the wood of the thorn tree is very suitable for the handle of such an axe. Lord Vishnu is the axe for cutting down the sandalwood forest of the family of demons. And this Prahlad is the handle for that axe. Purport. Thorn trees generally grow in deserted places, not in sandalwood forests. But for the seminal Brahmanas, Sanda and Amaraka, compared the dynasty of the Daitya Hiranyakashipu to a sandalwood forest. compared Prahlad Maharaj to a hard, strong thorn tree that could provide the handle of an axe. They compare Lord Vishnu to the axe itself. An axe alone cannot cut a thorn tree. It needs a handle, which may be made of the wood of a thorn tree. Thus, the thorn tree of demoniac civilization can be cut to pieces by the axe of the Vishnu Bhakti, devotional service to Lord Krishna. Some of the members of the demoniac civilization, like Prahlad Maharaj, may become the handle for the axe to assist Lord Vishnu, and thus the entire forest of demoniac civilization can be cut to pieces. Daiteya Chandanavane Chatoyam Kantaka Druma Yan Mula Parashor Vishnu Nala Yitor Baka. This rascal Prahlad has appeared like a thorn tree in a forest of sandalwood. To cut down sandalwood trees, an axe is needed, and the wood of the thorn tree is very suitable for the handle of such an axe. Lord Vishnu is the axe for cutting down the sandalwood forest of the family of demons. This Prahlad is the handle for that axe. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatunde Ve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskatya De Satarne. There are some important points here. One is that everyone thinks that they're nice people. Sunda and Amarka, they thought that they were the sandalwood forest and that Prahlad was a relative of a thorn tree. And somehow or another, Vishnu came along as the actual axe itself, threatening to cut down the beautiful sandalwood forest of demons. Of course, they're not called, when we hear the word demon, we think, demon doesn't sound like a very favorable designation, unless you're a demon, of course. Some people when they actually become real demons, they actually identify themselves as demons, and they think it's quite an auspicious designation. Satan, they call Satanists, and they become more prominent. As a matter of fact, they're officially recognized as a religion, Satanists in America. People who are against God, they're recognized as a religion. On the other hand, Prabhupada doesn't seem to be very impressed by Sunda and Amarka's designating the demons as like a sandalwood forest. He calls them thorn trees. And Prahlad may have been born in that family, but he was going to become like the handle for the axe and be utilized by Lord Vishnu to cut down those demons, the Daityas. The other thing is that God has discrimination. Krishna says, Paritranaya sarunam vinashaya tridiskritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavam yuge yuge. In order to protect the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish religious principles, Krishna comes millennium after millennium. So Krishna actually sees that some people are demons. Sometimes we hear that God is love. He's all love. He loves everyone. So therefore he's indiscriminate. When he sees the demons, he says, oh, my dear demon, I love you. No, when he sees the demons, he takes out his sword and cuts off their heads. So for most people, they think that this is rather strange, that an all-loving God, so violent. His mother, Jasoda, seemed like a nice person. Where did he get all these bad habits from? What kind of upraising did he get? That every time he sees someone who opposes him, he takes out his Sudarshan chakra and cuts off their head. It must be some psychological problem he had in his infancy. And now he's revealing it in his adulthood. Of Of course, as I said before, according to the demons, God was born in prison because his parents were criminals. So that's probably where he got it from. And somehow or another they escaped, and therefore he was raised by foster parents. But his criminal tendencies manifested themselves when he grew up and first he killed his nurse who came there to feed him. And then when he grew up, he started to kill the animals in the forest. He killed the duck. Poor duck. He killed a bull. He killed a calf. He killed a horse. Anything that he could get his hands on, he killed. Then he organized a mafia in Vrindavan and went around stealing from all the residents. And then when he got a little older, he started to chase after all the ladies, even those who were married. And when things got serious, he fled the city. He fled the village and went to the city and came out and captured grown-up ladies instead of little girls. And every time he came out of the city, practically speaking, he slaughtered vast numbers of people. It all started when his parents were put into a prison. He was born there. Bad association. So people will think like that. Who is this God? Therefore he says, Paritranaya Sarushanam Vinashaya Tadiskritam. He's very apt to vanquish those who go against him, and he supports those who are for him, like everyone else in this world. But then he claims he's reestablishing religious principles. So this is from the point of view of a materialist who actually believes that this world is real. As Krishna says, asatyam apratishtam te jagat ohora nishvaram aparashparam sambhutyam kimanya kama haitukam. They say that this world is unreal, but they take it as real. It has no God, it has no foundation, it has no God in control. It produces sex desire and has no cause in lust. When they say it's unreal, they only say it's unreal when they want to exploit it. Other than that, they take it very seriously. Prabhupada gives the example that they say everything came about by chance. But who takes that seriously? Do the professors sit at home and think, since everything has come about by chance, I'll simply sit in my house and by chance I'll get my PhD degree? Does anyone actually take chance that seriously? By chance, I'll sit here in my house during the coronavirus and I'll become a multimillionaire. By chance. If someone wants something in the material world, they have to go and work for it. But because they're working for things which are inauspicious, etam drishtim avashtabhya nashtatmano nabudaya pravatnyuka karmana shaye jagato hita. Following such conclusions, lost to themselves, the demoniac create horrible, unbeneficial works meant to destroy the world. So those who are not in harmony with Krishna's plan, whatever they do is not good for themselves or to others. And Prabhupada gives the example of the atomic bomb, spending so much money trying to figure out how to kill people. Now they're wanting to kill people, not necessarily just to defend themselves, they want to kill people to exploit them. So this is called demoniac. And when Krishna comes, since he wants to revive religious principles, he wants to revive faith in him, because following Krishna's path leads one to liberation. And following any other path leads one to the darkest regions of existence. So Krishna wants the best for everyone. So if someone is leading people to the darkest regions of existence, andarya tander upagiyamanas, he doesn't want to encourage them. He doesn't come to encourage the demons. he doesn't come to say nice things to the demons. He comes to teach the demons that it's not good to be a demon. Otherwise, they keep on becoming a demon. It's like Daksha. Daksha was a great personality in the universe. And practically speaking, he had undergone so much austerity that he was effulgent. And when he came into the assembly, the sacrificial assembly, he was so effulgent that all the demigods, they stood up to receive him, except for Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. At that time, Lord Vishnu didn't come because Krishna knows everything. He knew it wasn't a very good time to go to a fire sacrifice. He knew a lot of people were going to get burnt there. So Krishna stayed away, Vishnu stayed away, but Shiva was there. He was meditating on Vishnu, and Lord Brahma, when Daksha walked in, he didn't stand up because Daksha is his son. It's against the etiquette. They all stood up. But Daksha at once started to speculate. Oh, here's Lord Shiva. He doesn't realize how advanced I am. He's puffed up. He's envious. I'm his father-in-law, and he doesn't show me any etiquette. He's an offender. And he started to criticize Lord Shiva. So things went from bad to worse eventually. And at the end of the story, well, not the end of the story, eventually Lord Shiva had Virabhadra, after Lord Shiva's wife was committed suicide because of the offensive attitude of Daksha. Lord Shiva released his bhutas, the ghosts and the other spirits, and Virabhadra came out from a hair and went there and cut off Daksha's head. So it sounds like a pretty gruesome story. You kind of wonder about Lord Shiva. You know, what kind of personality is that? Why isn't he more tolerant? Why didn't he go and offer some flowers to Daksha? My dear Daksha, I know you're the cause of my wife's death, but still I'm so forgiving because I'm the head of the universe. I'm the father of the universe, so therefore, here, please accept this garland of flowers. Like Prahlad Maharaj offered flowers to Lord Nrsimhadev, the killer of his father. So why didn't Lord Shiva be so tolerant and go and offer flowers to Daksha, the killer of his wife, to show how tolerant he is? No, he went and he sent Virabhadra instead, cut off Daksha's head. Pretty gruesome stuff. Doesn't sound very tolerant. And then he replaced his head with the head of a goat, because in a sacrifice, generally you cut off someone's head to prove that the fire sacrifice works, the sacrifice works. Otherwise, you waste a lot of money. And nowadays we have these sacrifices. We throw in grains, we throw in ghee, we throw in so many. And the only thing that really comes out of it is smoke. We can't even eat the grains. But we're doing it for the more or less to demonstrate the fact that we're surrendering. But here in a sacrifice, previously they didn't sacrifice a few grains, they threw in gold and jewels. And the sacrificial altar was made out of gold. So they had to prove the priests that they actually knew what they were doing. So they learned that, because the priests, they didn't learn anything, practically speaking. If you were a priest, nowadays you'd be unemployed. No one would know what to do with you, because all you can do is chant mantras. They spent their whole life learning how to chant mantras. But their mantras worked. They could chant a mantra and light the fire from a sacrifice. There were no matches back then. They didn't need matches. It wasn't that they put some chemical in the wood, which ignites automatically in 5 minutes, chant a few mantras, check their watch, 5 minutes is up. Om Agni Swaha, and then the fire would start. Yeah, just see my prowess. Oh, great priest. can you light this fire? Can you light the fire over here? Sure, just you got to wait 5 minutes though. Close your eyes, wait 5 minutes. Amazing. So they'd have to do that. Otherwise, the kings who were investing all this money wouldn't hire such a priest. Light the fire, fire light, 20 minutes later, fire light. The wood must be wet. No, they had to prove their prowess by lighting the fire, and then by sacrificing an animal. In the fire, they had to prove by chanting mantras that the animal would walk out alive in a fresh body. Then they were impressed. People, yes, you could perform the sacrifice. You have the potency to do it. Now Daksha had his head cut off, and he got replaced by that of a goat who was sacrificed. And he started to talk through the form of the head of the goat, and saying, with tears in his eyes, saying, "My dear Lord Shiva, you're so kind to me that I was on my path going to hell, but fortunately you chastised me. And therefore, you've saved me from this offensive attitude I had." And therefore, with tears of love, he was appreciating Lord Shiva's kindness upon him. Now in the material world, everyone is more or less interested in getting the maximum gain out of existence and avoiding whatever loss may be there, may threaten one. No one, if someone cuts off your head and replaces with that of a goat, you probably go and complain about them. Call up 911, have the police come and arrest them, put a court case against them, appearing in court. Yeah, look at me, look at my head. He did it. But Daksha was appreciative because he could understand that due to his defensive attitude, he was going to get severe reactions. But people don't believe in karma. They don't believe that if they do something wrong, they're going to have to pay for it. And therefore, they're offended if anyone corrects them. Sometimes we see the devotees are sleeping, and you go, "Excuse me, Prabhu, I think you're asleep." "What do you mean I'm sleeping? Who do you think I am? Who do you think you are?" "I wasn't asleep. You were asleep. I saw you were asleep." You're the one who should wake up. So in even a very slight correction, people can become very disturbed. "How dare you correct me? Who do you think you are?" But if one is advanced, one can understand this whole material world is an opportunity to make spiritual advancement. And therefore, because if we were completely pure and self-realized, we wouldn't be in the material world in the first place. If you go to a jail and people are dressed in the prison attire, and you say, "How did you get here?" "It was all a mistake. I'm innocent. I did absolutely nothing wrong." "But you're a famous killer. You killed 20 people. No, it's all, I was defending myself. They were attacking me. I had a perfect right to kill them. It's all a mistake. Get me out of here." So everyone thinks that they're perfectly all right. Like Two-Gun Pete. You heard of Two-Gun Pete? Everyone knows Two-Gun Pete? You know Two-Gun Pete? You don't read the scriptures? Dale Carnegie. How to Win Friends and Influence People. So there's a story of Two-Gun Pete, a famous mafia figure in Chicago around the time of Al Capone. So he was famous because when he killed his victims, he always killed them with 2 guns to protect his reputation. Therefore, he was known as Two-Gun Pete. So one day, Two-Gun Pete was having some Madhurya Rasa with his girlfriend in his car at night. And some unfortunate policeman came along and put his flashlight, shone his flashlight into the car and disrupted Madhurya Rasa. And therefore it was a great offense. Tugampit could not tolerate such an offensive attitude, and he shot the policeman with his gun. And then he got out of the car in order to protect his reputation, took the policeman's gun and shot him again. So his reputation as Tugampit was not tarnished in any way. Of course, the other policemen didn't understand this Madhurya Rasa because they were not sufficient familiar with Rasa Shastra. And so, therefore, they actually believed that Tugampit was an offender, and they chased him into his hideout. And there was a gunfight going on, and Tugampit realized that he wasn't going to survive the gunfight, so he wrote a letter to his mother. Dear Mom, I'm actually a nice person. People just don't understand me. Please take care of the cat. Your son, Petey. So even the most hardened criminals, indiscriminate murderers, they think they're actually nice people, above criticism. So what to speak of our false ego, who has so many reasons to think that we're a nice person. I'm a devotee. I have a bead bag. I actually have neck beads. Even the Yadamudutas, when they come by, they offer respects on the way to pick someone else up when they see my neck beads. Everyone calls me Prabhu, so I must be a very powerful, good person. So everyone is meditating on how wonderful they are, how wonderful their prison uniform is. Because actually these bodies are just prison uniforms that we put on. But we take pictures of them, we put them on Facebook, we try to get likes. Do you like my prison uniform? Hey, it's a good one. Send it to Yamaraj, and Yamaraj goes, yeah, it's good. But we've gotten this because of our defying God, because of our causeless unwillingness to serve Him. And therefore one has to be open to find out what we're deviating from our natural position as servant of Krishna. And that will actually help us. Now, Prahlad Maharaj was the axe to cut down the demoniac forest, the thorn trees of the Asuras. But the Asuras, due to their false ego, could not understand the value of Prahlad Maharaj's activities. How, by cutting them down there, he was actually liberating them from their material misconceptions, or at least assisting Vishnu. So similarly, those who oppose us, those who are whatever, everything is arranged by Krishna. And if we try to see things, how to Krishna's plan, and try to appreciate it, try to be open, as Vaishya Prabhu once said, I live to be corrected, rather than I live to correct others. I've come here as an avatar. I've descended into this world, as they say in Bhagavad Gita, the foolish, they deride at my descending in this human-like form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my possible dominion over all that be. So we shouldn't think ourselves to be avatars. If we think ourselves to be avatars coming here to correct everyone, we should know that we're the mudha avatars. We're the fool avatars. That instead of coming here to correct everyone, looking around, trying to figure out what everyone's doing wrong, we should try to be corrected. And if no one else wants to correct us, then we should try to see what we're doing wrong so we can make some progress ourselves towards becoming Krishna conscious. In any case, Krishna was so kind, he sent Prahlad Maharaj to cut down the demoniac thorn trees, and therefore help them and help the universe become free from their influence and establish actually the path back to Krishna. So Krishna is so kind, he assists even the demons by cutting them down. He assists the devotees by bringing them up, and he establishes what is the actual purpose of life. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions, comments? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Welcome back.
What's that?
Welcome back.
Thank you. Nice to see that everyone's still here, at least most of them.
We see that some religions put Satan as some prominent figure. Who could we designate as Satan? Doesn't seem we have such a powerful anti-God figure in the Vedas. Is it just a fantasy of people who need an enemy, or is there someone who is?
Well, it looks like Maya takes the role of Satan, but they've whatever reason they've designated him as like a male, but he seems to have the characteristics of Maya, trying to allure people away from the path of God consciousness. I mean, Satan, they don't realize how powerful Maya is, so they've given some insignificant person, Satan, the opportunity to lure people away. Obviously, they just gotten. I mean, the power of Maya, the power of Krishna, they don't understand. So they reduce God, they reduce the Maya, and they come up with these ideas.
You also mentioned Daksha with his goat head. And he misunderstood Lord Shiva, even though Lord Shiva was absolutely pure in his consciousness and behavior. And it seems to be a recurrent story in history, being misunderstood. So how, even between devotees, sometimes we have a hard time not creating a wrong impression or creating some wrong reactions. Is there a way to avoid being misunderstood?
Yeah. Get someone else to do your dirty work. That's what Prabhupada used to do. He'd rarely chastise anyone directly. He had to tell someone to do something different. He'd tell one of his disciples to go and tell him. Because if he did that, then if the devotee got offended, then he'd actually suffer by offending Prabhupada, thinking that Prabhupada offended him. Therefore, he got his disciples to do those things. Rarely, when there are some devotees who wouldn't accept anyone else's instruction or chastisement, then he had to personally do it. And even then, the devotee didn't necessarily appreciate it so much. Yes.
You quoted Sri Carnegie, Dale Carnegie.
Yes. Sri Carnegie Vacha.
It seems mostly an apt observation, but also sometimes you can find people who feel that they are totally horrible.
I'm the most horrible person. That's called the ghastly rasa. Vibhatsa. Yeah, they actually they become puffed up thinking that they're most horrible. So that's called distinction. They can profit adoration, distinction, and then thinking that they're most horrible, they get a following of almost equally horrible people to adore them. So, material world, everyone's interested in profit, adoration, and distinction. So when you're the most horrible, you're actually something good. You're special to the people who are horrible like you are. You're the leader. So people don't really care what they are. They just want to control things and be the leader. They want to lead everyone else wherever they're going to go. Yeah.
I know one devotee of like 40 years. He has handed back his initiation, took back his so-called karmi name. He's only washing pots in the kitchen. When I tried to give him some gift, he was horrified, appalled, and he thought it's a big offense that
I don't understand. He is initiated devotee?
He was given an initiation. I don't remember how long did it take. He just said, no, I'm sorry. And he gave it back.
He gave it. He never really accepted the initiation.
No. So how do we? And he's been trying to preach. He says, as long as it's by correspondence, it worked. But as soon as people saw me, they were horrified. What do we think about? And he's always steady in the temple, doing very menial service.
Yeah. So there are different modes of nature in which we can do service. One of them is ignorance. One of them is passion. One of them is goodness. So it's not that people are purely in ignorance. There may be a mixture of goodness, but there's also, due to the contamination of our past activities, maybe mixed with some ignorance also. And therefore our devotional service is not clear. It's not pure. It's mixed with the modes. All right, thank you very much. Kandara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande.